Mr. Clark, you're here to prove to Ms. Bolden that you are the biological father of her 3-year-old daughter, LaKearney Clark. And once the DNA results prove you're right, you want to be able to spend more time with your daughter.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Bolden, you say that you've always told Mr. Clark he was not your daughter's father and hope that once these results are revealed, the real biological father, Mr. Moore, who will enter the court in a moment, will step up.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Clark, why are these results so important to you?
Because it's a little child's life at stake, and my life is at stake too. And she's everything to me. She's my princess, and I really care about her.
And so you are convinced that you are, in fact, the father. But you say, Ms. Bolden, that's not the case.
No, ma'am.
So explain.
One day we had an argument about bills, as usual, about his half on the bills. He stormed out the door, so I stormed out the door too. I called Mr. Moore, and we got a hotel room. And that night I had sex with Mr. Moore, and that's the night I think I conceived.
And so you were dating Mr. Clark.
Right.
Got the argument, you stormed out. Then you cheated with Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Clark, while all of this was going on, you believed you were the father all along?
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you ever giving any indication that you were not?
No, Your Honor.
So when you found out she was pregnant, you immediately said, "This is my child"?
Yes, Your Honor. I had no doubts.
You went to doctor's appointments?
No, Your Honor.
You didn't. Were you at the hospital when the baby was born?
After, Your Honor.
After. Did you sign the birth certificate?
Yes, Your Honor.
You did?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, let me see that. Jerome, please. And so, Ms. Bolden, all this is going on, and he's signing the birth certificate, and he thinks this is his child, and you know, in your mind, you say that it's not?
Yes.
So during your pregnancy, during the child's birth, did you ever say anything, give a hint?
Yes, ma'am. We had got into it one day about the bills as usual. My 7 months pregnant, I went to the doctor and got an ultrasound for my baby. And when I came home, I showed him the ultrasound, and I showed it to him, and then I told him he might not be the father.
Do you remember that conversation, Mr. Clark?
Yes, Your Honor.
So she did say you may not be the father.
This was after we separated.
But this was before LaKearney was born, right?
This was after she was born that I found this, that she started saying that LaKearney wasn't mine.
She just said it's when she had an ultrasound.
No. This was after she gave birth to LaKearney.
So you had no clue until afterwards.
Right.
Ms. Bolden, you're saying that you told him specifically before.
Yes, I did.
So at what point did you tell the other man that he was a possibility?
He already knew. He never had doubts of my baby. He always said he just wanted the DNA test with her to prove that he is the father.
So, Mr. Clark, did you know there was another man that she was talking about a DNA test with?
Yes, Your Honor.
You did?
Yes, Your Honor.
So at what point did you find this out?
During the relationship, I knew she cheated on me and did all of this, but like I said, I had no doubt that she was my daughter. I always felt like that. No doubt in my mind whatsoever.
So when she was born, you started a relationship with her. You became her father.
I had a bond, Your Honor.
And you had a bond.
Right.
You still have a bond.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Bolden, while you're seeing this bond develop, and you know in your mind that there's another possibility, are you reminding Mr. Clark?
No, ma'am, I'm not.
Oh. So now you're just letting him go on and believe that LaKearney is his child?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because I really didn't want to hurt his feelings anymore about my baby might not be his.
And so at what point did you decide to say, I gotta tell him, I have to tell him?
My baby was like 1 year old.
And what did you say?
I told him there is a possibility that my baby might not be his.
So what made you say that?
Just looking at my baby, she don't look like him. Like, she has no similarities to him, period.
So you felt like as she grew and developed, you just didn't see a similarity?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
So now, Mr. Clark, do you remember that day?
Yes, Your Honor. This was after we broke up.
LaKearney was born, though.
Right, she was
but
born.
But Ms. Bolden, now let me be clear. You said you told him before?
Yes, I did.
After the ultrasound, and then you brought it up again when LaKearney was 1,
yes,
right?
Ma'am.
So now we're at the instance when she's 1 year old. Okay, so what did she say, Mr. Clark, exactly?
I mean, we stayed arguing all the time. You know, she made statements, I guess just to hurt me, that she wasn't mine, but yet and still, I had no doubt in my mind that little girl is mine. I always felt like she was my daughter. And I feel like this still. Whenever me and LaKearney meet, it's magical. You know what I'm saying? And she's very happy when she sees me.
It's like that because you the only person she knows.
So now that you've told the other man, Mr. Moore, has he developed any type of relationship with LaKearney?
He wants to be involved. He just said he needs a DNA test to prove that he is the father. He barely comes around because he don't know where I stay and he don't know my number. Only time he can contact me is on Facebook.
So if he's your daughter's father, why is it, if there's a possibility he is, why is it he doesn't have any way to contact you?
Because I'm always changing my number. Like, I change my number like 3 times out of a month.
You do?
Yes.
Why?
Because certain people have my number and I don't want them having my number, so I just changed my number.
But if this man could be your child's father, how can they keep up with their child?
Well, actually, they know where my brother stay. They know where my grandma lives at. I be over there checking on her sometimes, but I just don't want them having my number.
So, Ms. Bolden, does Mr. Clark have your number and does he get to see LaKearney?
Only time he get to see her is when she's at my sister's house. No, he don't have my number, and no, he don't know where I stay. His attitude towards me is so terrible, so I try not to deal with him on any type of level.
All right, so you all have been having a lot of trouble getting along.
Right.
So, Mr. Clark, as I look at your face, it seems like you really hurt about this.
I am, Your Honor. I feel devastated. It's unexplainable right now. I mean, I don't know what I'd do if I found out LaKearney wasn't mine. I don't know what I'd do.
So you're here today and you're truly hoping that this little girl is yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
So now, this other father, does he want to be a father too? Does he want to be involved?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you in a relationship with him at all?
No, ma'am, I'm not.
Jerome, I want to meet this other possible father. Can you please escort Mr. Moore in? Mr. Moore, thank you for being here. We're here discussing the paternity as it relates to LaKearney. Do you believe you're this child's biological father?
Yes, Your Honor.
You do?
Yes.
Why do you believe that?
I believe that because she looks just like me and my son, Your Honor.
So you see a strong resemblance?
Yes.
Think she looks like you?
Yes.
So now, do you want to be her father? You want to be there for her?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
How involved have you been in her life?
Not that much.
So if you want her to be your child and you think she's your child, why are you not involved in her life?
Because she don't bring her around. It's hard to keep up with her.
Well, we've heard testimony that would validate that for certain. She says she changes her number. So, Ms. Bolden, let me hear from your witness. Please stand up, ma'am. State your name.
Wanda Moore.
Who are you related to in this situation?
Billy Moore. That's my brother.
This is your brother?
Yes, ma'am.
But you're standing with Ms. Bolden?
Yes, ma'am.
So what do you know about this situation?
What I know is that's my niece.
You do?
Yes, ma'am. I know from day one that little girl was my niece. I make sure she get things for her birthday. I just spend time with her. My kids know her. She know my son. You know.
And why are you so certain?
Because she looks just like us. Nose, mouth, everything. She even act like us.
Ms. Bolden, you're allowing Ms. Moore to do these things for LaKearney, right?
Right.
You have her number?
No, ma'am.
On Facebook. We
I don't understand this, Jerome.
But, I mean, I get through her on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you allow her to be a part of LaKearney's life in this way?
Yes, ma'am, because we get along.
Mr. Clark, when you hear about how she's allowing the Moore family to really take LaKearney in and accept her as their own, what does that make you feel like?
It upsets me. Like this past Christmas, you know, I don't work, you know what I'm saying, but I'm self-employed. I cut hair. I do tattoos from time to time. I took my hard-working money and bought LaKearney 2 gifts, you know, and I dropped them out to her house. She wasn't there this Christmas. I didn't get to see her. I got word that she had to open up her gifts on the porch because they were for me, and I feel like that was wrong.
Why would you do that, Ms. Bolden?
Yes, I left the gifts on the porch. Only reason why I got the gifts off the porch is because my baby seen them.
Just like on Facebook, I seen Mr. Moore holding a picture of LaKearney. It upset me. That's not your child. But she the one who posted the picture, though. And she knew I was gonna see it, so she did that in spite just to hurt me, to get at me.
Oh. I didn't know if you were gonna see it because you blocked on Facebook. Your mouth too
At that time, I wasn't.
So you saw this picture on Facebook of Mr. Moore and the little girl you say is your daughter, but it's referring to Mr. Moore as daddy.
Right. I just can't do nothing but go through with it until I find out what's going on today.
So you've brought a witness as well. I'd like to hear from your witness. Please stand, ma'am. State your name.
Closet Moore.
And you're another Moore.
Yes.
Ms. Moore, you are?
Billy Moore's sister.
You are another one of Mr. Moore's sisters.
Yes.
But you're standing with Mr. Clark.
Yes, Your Honor.
What do you have to add to this?
Well, Your Honor, the reason why I'm here is because LaToya and Mr. Clark were staying together at the time that the baby was made, but she told my brother it was his baby as well. So
she told me it wasn't mine.
Well,
then turned around and told me it was.
Well, she told him it wasn't his and turned around and told him it was, and that what got me with a little doubts that it's his baby, it's Mr. Clark's baby.
So you believe LaKearney is Mr. Clark's child?
Yes, Your Honor, a little bit.
You do?
Yes.
Because at first you're saying Ms. Bolden told Mr. Moore it was not his child.
Yes, ma'am. And that's why I got doubts. You know,
And
Ms. Clark was...
And LaKearney calls me daddy.
She called me dad, too.
Yeah. Yes.
Ms. Bolden, does she call both men daddy?
Yes, she do.
Is that confusing for her?
Yes, it is.
Wow. So, Ms. Bolden, are you hoping Mr. Clark is not the biological father?
Yes, ma'am.
Or do you truly believe he's not the biological father?
I truly believe he's not.
On our behalf, like I said, they were staying together, they had a relationship together. So that's why I say that, you know, it's Mr. Clark, baby, because they was in a relationship. But she looked just like us and everything, you know. I just want to know is my brother, baby.
And I just want to know the truth, too.
And I have that truth for you. Jerome, let's have the results. These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Clark versus Bolden, when it comes to 3-year-old LaKearney Clark, and whether Mr. Clark or Mr. Moore is her biological father, it has been determined by this court that the biological father is Mr. Clark.
I knew it.
You do. You're very happy. That's good. Ms. Bolden,
Yes.
how do you feel?
I mean, I feel the same. It's no difference. And neither one of them in her life.
Do you want Mr. Clark to step up and play a bigger role in her life?
To be honest with you, you aren't a no. It's just we don't get along.
He does have a legal right to see his child. Wouldn't it be easier on LaKearney if you all could figure out some type of visitation and a way to work together?
Yes.
Do you want to work on that, Mr. Clark?
Yes, Your Honor, for the baby's sake.
Now, Ms. Moore, I see that you are very sad. You really, really hope that that was your niece.
Yep.
So you all have come to love her? She's your niece. Will you all still stay in her life?
Yes.
You're not gonna leave her life.
Yes, I'm still gonna be there
Always
for
be in
her.
her life.
And so that means if we do this right, family, she could have an amazing village around her of people that love her. Miss Bolden, is it okay if Mr. Clark sees his little girl?
No, ma'am, it's not.
You just want him to pay.
Right.
Ms. Lusk, you and your mother say you have no doubt whatsoever when it comes to knowing who your 3-year-old daughter, Samari's biological father, is.
Yes, Your Honor.
Unfortunately, the man you claim is her father has died, and now you find yourself facing off against his mother, who is just as convinced that she is not your daughter's grandmother.
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Paige, you say there's no way in this world Miss Lusk is being truthful. For starters, you contend your son was in a committed relationship with another woman, and until he passed away, you had never heard of Ms. Lusk. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Lusk, describe to the court how difficult this situation has been for you and your daughter.
It's been more than extremely difficult being pregnant at 16, having to still go through school. These past 4 years, everything has been on me and my mother. And I feel it's completely unfair because he has a whole other side. She has a whole other side to her family. My daughter is beautiful, and you missed out on 4 years, almost 4 years of my child's life. Not
Okay,
only
Ms.
me,
Lusk,
not
everybody's
only
a
me.
single parent. You're
You're
not the only
absolutely
one.
correct, but you
It
were a
happens
single
every
parent
day,
as well.
all day.
You were a single parent. You raised
Hold on,
Desmond by
let's get some
yourself.
order.
You
Let's get
raised
some
Desmond
order.
by yourself.
Yes.
You're raising a was now pregnant by yourself.
Okay.
So you should feel where I'm coming from.
Okay.
But not
You
only
don't-
that,
Let's get some order, ladies.
you're absolutely correct. I am, and I'm doing a good job. I have 2 jobs.
Let's get
I
some
have
order.
2 jobs. Going back to college in August. You're absolutely
club.
correct. You're absolutely correct. But you should be on my side if anybody because you've been there.
Miss
My daughter is
Lusk,
beautiful.
Miss Lusk, calm down. Calm down. Ms. Lusk, you were saying your daughter Samari is almost 4. She's 3 right now.
Yes, ma'am. She'll
And
be
you're
4 in
saying
September.
you believe Miss Paige's son is her biological father.
Yes, ma'am.
Unfortunately, her son is deceased, so this has been an ongoing paternity issue for the past 3 years related to this beautiful, precious little girl. And you're saying you need help.
They're out for money. I had insurance on
What
my
money?
son. I had an insurance policy. They're out for
That we
money.
knew
And-
nothing about.
Let her
That we
speak.
knew nothing about.
Unless it's proven, it's not my son's
You
baby.
never posted
I knew
it on
anything
Facebook.
about
Miss Lusk.
Knew nothing about her.
You said you have an insurance policy.
Yes, Your Honor.
And so this insurance policy is in the amount of $50,000. You submitted that paperwork to the court. It is your testimony today that Ms. Lusk is attempting to get a portion of that money.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that's why she's claiming your deceased son is her child's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor. I never heard of Miss Lusk.
And
Never.
that
Your
was not
son
true.
was in a committed relationship.
That we
Miss
knew
Lusk
nothing
was
about.
never brought up,
That we knew
or
nothing
brought
about.
around.
And the
Who
crazy
is
thing
Miss
is,
Lusk?
when the last time we were intimate, you knocked on the door. You interrupted us. Yes, ma'am. I was
It's
in
in
your
her
house.
head. It's
I
in
was
Miss
in your
Lusk's
room,
head. I
and you
never
came
heard
and
of
knocked
Miss
on the
Lusk.
door.
Ms. Lusk,
Absolutely
explain
fine.
to the court what happened that day.
It was a normal time scheduled routine that I would actually come over there because we had times that I would come over to see him because he only stayed a few blocks from my school. And during certain periods, whether it was gym or my lunch period, I would go, I would walk. He would meet me halfway.
When was
Absolutely
the first
correct, I
time you
did it.
physically saw me?
The first time I actually saw you.
When you proclaimed you were pregnant, you was very petite, no stomach, looking like an innocent child.
Yes,
You
ma'am. He
asked
said
to
the
go
same
to the
way I
school
look
to
now.
see my child. You asked to go to the school. Of course she wasn't showing. She was just pregnant.
You went to see Ms. Lusk at school?
Yes, I
Yes,
gave
I
her
went to see
permission.
her at school
They
to
had
talk
to
to
call
her and
an
to find
accident.
out what was going on. She didn't look pregnant. She was holding her head down. She had no stomach whatsoever.
But at the same time, this was my first time meeting you, Miss Paige. Her exact words were, "You look like his type. You're very pretty, very small."
Miss Lusk
And
and
she
Miss
said the
Anderson, my
same
son didn't
thing.
have a particular type. He was in a relationship.
Miss Paige, you're saying your son was in a relationship with a different woman, a long-term relationship.
Yes,
One.
for
years.
More than one. We're
Another
here
young
today.
lady came out to pin the baby on him, and I did a DNA test, and it was 0 probability.
And that's
no,
why
I'm
we're
not,
here
I'm
now.
not claiming
And
no baby.
we're
no.
not them.
Now listen, you said you had never seen her before until you went to her school.
Yes, Your Honor.
How did you get the news that she potentially was pregnant?
Well, I'm thinking that someone told me via Facebook or something like that.
No, ma'am.
So please respond, Miss Anderson. How do you know what happened?
I contacted Miss Paige through Facebook to tell her to call me. She called me, and that's when I broke the news to her about my daughter being pregnant by her son.
Okay. And so you had a conversation, and during that conversation, what was said?
The very first thing she said to me is, my son is a legend. My son has women coming out the woodwork. She seemed proud.
And he's always gonna be a legend in my book.
She then had the nerve
Always.
to say to me that her son had no reason to be doing whatever he was doing in his past. And Your Honor, we have never asked her for anything.
At all.
Once she suggested bringing over a used walker. We declined her walker. She went into one of her little, oh, that ain't my grandbaby. Make sure you find your baby's daddy. And she's publicly putting it on Facebook. My
Also to
child's
the
name.
point where I can't defend myself because she'll have me blocked or she'll have it where I can't post comments. And I don't slander her on my Facebook. Not once have I ever
We've
said
never
anything
said
bad about
anything
this
about
woman.
her.
Miss Paige, are you posting things about Miss Lusk, this young girl, on Facebook?
She inboxed me, and me and her went back and forth on Facebook.
You're absolutely. But what led up to that,
as
Miss
far as the
Paige?
stroller,
What led up to that, Miss Paige?
One at a time.
I know anything about a stroller because I'm not providing a stroller for a child
It
that I don't
wasn't a
even know.
stroller,
my
it was
son-
a walker.
Whatever it was,
All right.
I'm not buying nothing.
Once Samari was born, did you allow Miss Paige the opportunity to see her? Did you say, the baby's here now, if
No,
you'd like
ma'am.
to?
Because prior to that, we were already where she was on Facebook saying, you need to have your daughter find the baby's daddy. My son is not it. You're not allowed to put the baby in the last name Paige. You don't have my permission. Like
Yes,
we
Miss
really
Anderson,
needed
'cause
it.
your daughter's on
like
the
we
back
need. We
page,
didn't
yes.
need your permission.
But the daughter's name is Samari Dior Anderson Paige.
And that's not
So
her
you
name.
gave Samari Desmond's last name.
Without my permission.
We don't need your permission. It was permission when I laid down and was
No,
intimate with him.
no, it's
That's
not- it's-
permission.
it's not been
That's
proven.
permission.
It's not been proven.
But it will be
You're-
today.
you're not
but it
his
will be
wife.
today.
You're
You're
not his
absolutely
wife.
correct. I don't have to be, and you're not either. You wasn't in the room, Miss
I'm
Paige.
his mother.
Okay, and I'm his baby mother.
No, you're not.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
You're a wannabe.
What I'm not understanding is it seems like you all have had consistent contact with one another. Has Miss Paige had an opportunity to see Samari?
No, ma'am.
Never.
I seen her
She's
one
seen her
time by
once.
accident at an acquaintance birthday party.
So you've never had the opportunity to come by and spend
she
time
held
with
my
her.
daughter at that party. She also she had the opportunity. Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
she has.
Miss Lust, I held her and I got a picture taken
You
because
had a
someone
few.
wanted to see did she
You had
even
a few. And
favor the family.
You posted it on Facebook. You posted it on your Facebook page.
To be
So,
honest,
yes,
I
ma'am.
don't
This
want
is my
Samari
first time
around
seeing
him.
you, Miss Anderson.
Yes, it is. And my first time and hopefully last seeing you.
The feeling is mutual.
Okay? Because we don't
Listen,
want you around.
but if
I don't-
listen,
don't want my
listen,
child. I
if
don't-
the baby is Desmond's, this will not be the last time you all see one another. And that's why I don't know why we carrying on up in here today like this. You all could both be the grandmothers of this beautiful, beautiful
I'm
little girl.
definitely the grandmother. This is my child.
We know that. The statement is that both of you all could be, meaning Miss Paige could be as well. So at the end of the day, let's just focus on the facts
Yes.
so we can see how we go forward. Now, I've done enough of these cases to know Miss Paige is grieving. She doesn't even have a person to review these facts with. Let's be clear. She can't say to her son, Desmond, I need to talk to you about this, this, and this, so I can get an understanding. And so I'm sure much of this animosity, ma'am, and I hope I'm not speaking for you incorrectly, but much of this pain and animosity that is coming out in your testimony is because you do feel like you have a situation before you and you have absolutely no one to ask a question about it, and you've lost your son in the process. Is that true?
Yes, Your Honor.
The only facts you can go by is the positioning of your son, what you were able to see prior to his passing. And that is what you were told, and you thought he was in a relationship with someone else, a long-standing relationship. Am I correct?
Yes, Your
And
Honor.
you didn't have any reason to know or believe your son was having sex outside of that relationship with anyone else. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I am just trying to give you all an opportunity to calm down and to see that there are two sides to this story. There really is. Now, the animosity you all have built up, that is because you've handled the situation inappropriately. A situation this delicate, it'll never need to play out on a Facebook. Miss Paige, I want to understand from you, have you tried to ask some of Desmond's friends, maybe some of your other family members, were you aware that he was in a relationship with Miss Lusk? Were you aware he may have had a child?
I have asked everybody. Nobody even know of Miss Lusk. Nobody.
Okay. Now, Miss Lusk, I want to ask you respectfully, were you aware that Desmond was in another relationship with someone else?
No, Your Honor. I didn't find out until the day of and the day after his passing.
So how did you find that out?
Facebook, social media, and that's when I believe four days after his passing, that's when I took my own pregnancy test and found out I was pregnant. That was April 24th. His funeral was April 27th. I didn't go to his funeral. I couldn't, because how can I show my face as, like, how can I even go? I can't even support
Miss
somebody.
Lusk, I didn't have time to grieve. I didn't have time to grieve either.
We haven't
The day
either.
after my son was killed, his first daughter was born.
I understand. Okay, I understand completely. But you are a grown woman. I was 16. The way you slandered me on Facebook.
Serious,
You you called my premature daughter ugly.
I did. She looked funny. She didn't
Wait,
look
It
like
was 3 months early, Miss Paige.
Listen.
3 months early. And look at my daughter. That is
Listen.
the spitting image of your son. It doesn't hurt me. It's gonna hurt that child.
One at a time. Miss
Quote,
Paige,
unquote.
Miss
Yes, Your
Paige,
Honor.
if in fact this beautiful baby girl is your late son's biological daughter, do you want to have a relationship with her?
I can't answer that.
And why is that? Why is that? Because each year,
Miss
Give her a
Lusk,
chance to respond.
Miss Lusk, it's too much. It's too much drama.
and it's too much for me as well because you caused the drama, Miss Paige.
Listen. I know both of you are grieving. I know both of you are just beyond yourselves in trauma, in grief. So I am trying to give you a moment to let it out, but I'm not gonna let this train leave this station and leave this baby behind.
And Your Honor, not
No, it is uncomfortable to me from where I sit, Miss Paige, to watch you shouting at this young girl because you are more than double her age.
Double.
And I'm saying this because I know this is not really what you want to do. And I know your anger and your frustration is coming from this place of grief. But when I ask you, if this is your son's daughter, do you want to have a relationship? And you say, I don't know because I don't know if I can take the drama. If that is your truth, I accept that. But what I will not accept is you all operating as if this drama has to exist, because it doesn't.
and that's all I want.
Let's get the truth. Jerome? These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. Because there wasn't a blood card available to test the DNA of the deceased, Desmond Paige, we performed a DNA test with his surviving parent, LaJuan Paige. With that being said, the results determine if there is a viable relationship between the child Samari Paige and LaJuan Paige. In the case of Lusk versus Paige, when it comes to 3-year-old Samari Paige, It has been determined by this court. The probability of relatedness between Miss Paige and Samari Paige is 99.96%.
4 years.
Yeah,
4 years, and I never asked
For
nothing
4
of
years,
you. I never asked
my son
nothing
been
of
deceased.
you.
You're supposed to do what you got to do as a mother.
Stop
absolutely correct,
arguing.
and I have.
Ladies, both of you all are in so much pain. Everything that comes out your mouth is bitter. It's not helping you. It's not helping that baby. And it definitely does not honor Desmond. Every child needs their parents. And when unfortunate situations arise like this, where life is cut short, all we have left for this child to understand truly who her father was, his life, pictures of him, that's you. And you want that little girl walking around this world having stories about her daddy. And that's how you keep someone's legacy alive.